Hello, everyone. It's Kyle Henderson of BamaInsider.com following Alabama's first scrimmage of the spring season. Before we get going on this observation piece, I'm going to dive into Nick Saban's press conference, what he said, what we think he meant. I also wanted just to send our condolences and prayers out to Cameron Luke Ratliff, who passed away on Friday evening. Our thoughts and prayers are with him. Alabama obviously held their first scrimmage on Friday. A lot of things to go over. Clearly, Bryce Young's play kind of headlined the day, but wanted to play Nick Saban's press conference and then kind of talk a little bit about each of his comments from Friday's press conference.
For a first scrimmage, I was sort of pleased with the intensity out there. There's a lot of good hitting, and there was a lot of good things to teach from. We got a lot of young guys playing a lot of positions, so I'm sure this first experience out there is going to help them be able to sort of do exactly what I said, find out where they are, what they have to do, what they need to learn, and how they can go out there and play with more confidence because they have a better understanding of what to do, how to do it, why it's important to do it that way. So for a first scrimmage, we're pretty pleased with it. I thought Bryce, did a pretty good job of managing the game and was accurate with the ball and did a nice job, made a few explosive plays, but I thought really did a good job of managing, the whole situation on offense when he was in there. I think we got a lot of improvement to do, especially with the twos on offense. We got a lot of young guys playing in the offensive line with Emil out, and Evan Neal's the only starter coming back. I see a lot of good potential that we need to work on and improve. And, we put a lot of stuff in probably for, the first 4 or 5 days, and that's a lot for a young player to digest. So when we eliminate the mental errors, I think we'll see a lot more consistent execution out there on both sides of the ball.
All right. So, good lengthy opening statement from Nick Saban following Friday's scrimmage. I think, the major takeaways is that he was pleased with Bryce Young's performance. And I think that is really a positive note. You're replacing Mac Jones, a guy with a lot of experience, with a guy who didn't really get to see a lot of opportunities. We've talked about that plenty. So good to see that Bryce Young commanded the offense really well. Various reports out there that he threw 5 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns. I heard that he threw 2 touchdowns against the first team defense, which I think is impressive considering that the defense is very much ahead of the offense, considering you have so much talent returning. And I think kind of listening to Nick Saban's statement following the scrimmage, there's so much youth on the offensive side of the ball, which I think is a good thing because you're going to get a lot of reps, a lot of opportunities, a lot of experience for these guys during the spring period. Now, before we move forward, there's plenty of guys that are missing spring football right now because of injuries from last season. Nick Saban mentioned Emil Ekiyor, he's out, as well as John Mechie at the wide receiver position. So we're going to, talk about the first team offensive line, the way it's been these last couple of days, but things are 100% going to change by the time that we get to that first game of the season. We continue with Nick Saban's press conference.
One defense, played fairly well, but, it's hard to tell, how much you're challenged, sometimes when you have a scrimmage. So, I'm sure we have a lot of things that we can improve on. It's certainly our goal to get better on third down, to play better in the red zone. Some of those things we still need to make improvement on defensively.
Okay, with that, we will start with, Michael Casagrande first. Michael, go ahead.
You talked about the quarterbacks. What about the receivers? Who stood out with the first group of receivers today?
Well, I think we got a lot of guys that are new guys at those positions without, John Mechie playing out there. It's you got really, other than Slade, not a whole lot of experience. So I saw good things from everybody, and I saw some things that we need definitely to improve on. But for me to single out somebody that I thought was outstanding today, I'm not really ready to do that.
I think kind of listening to Saban right here, you return Slade Bolden at that slot position, a guy that played plenty last season for the Crimson Tide. And without John Mechie, it's going to provide opportunities for a lot of these younger guys to showcase their abilities, as well as some of the vets. Xavier Williams, for example. I heard that Javon Baker had a really nice showing, and that's good. I mean, this is a second-year player that I think he only had 2 receptions last year during his inaugural season at Alabama. So to hear that Javon Baker had a good day, I think is great for his momentum going forward. I think the wide receiver positions, both the outside and even the slot. I know Slade's coming back, just as I spoke about, but I think there's still competition, and I wouldn't be surprised to see some of those younger guys, Jai Hall, Jaquon Brooks, really make them a name for themselves during the spring period and showcase to the coaches that they can play at a high level if they are called on. We continue with Nick Saban.
Go to Cecil. Cecil.
Coach, anytime you're replacing a quarterback, no matter who it is, and have a new quarterback coming in, are there things, especially in a first scrimmage or an early scrimmage, that you as a coach look for, not so much the plays or the throws, but in terms of leadership, huddle presence, so forth? Are you watching for those things?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about the fact that there's a technical aspect to playing your position, to being accurate with the ball, throwing it to the right guy, throwing it on time. All those things are important. But your presence out there, especially at the quarterback position, is certainly something that can affect the people around you. And quarterback's a really difficult position to play if the people around you don't play very well. So I think it is really, really important that we develop those things. Now, everybody's got a different personality, so I'm not sure I can sit down and tell a guy exactly how to do that. But a guy needs to know that's really, really important for him to develop that in this spring, as well as every other technical aspect of his position.
I think right there, what Nick Saban's talking about is the accountability to understand your job, whether that's the quarterback position, wide receiver, offensive line, center, tight end, whatever you have it. And I think it constitutes to being a team, right? I think there's that clip of Julio Jones talking in the barbershop. If you can't do your job, how can the player next to you do their job? And I think with the quarterback position specifically, Bryce, Paul, Jalen Milroe, all these guys, when it's their opportunity, has to be able to command that offense and do their job, understand the playbook. I think that Bill O'Brien's going to bring a couple different wrinkles, but this is still Alabama's offense. So I think right there in that comment, I thought that was a really good statement by Saban, just saying that you have to understand your job. Otherwise, nobody else can facilitate the offense, the defense, whatever you have it. We continue with Nick Saban.
We'll go to Charlie Potter.
Hey, Coach, you talked about the offensive line and the injuries there. So just what are you looking for from that group, and what do you see from them today?
Well, I think we got a long way to go. We got a lot of young guys. I think they've got a lot of ability. I think their head's swimming probably a little bit right now with all the different things that they have to learn on offense. But you're also, seeing probably a lot more things than you're used to seeing out of the defense. So, that creates a lot of multiples, for a young guy. So we just want to get those guys to where they have confidence in what they need to do to be able to go out there and execute and do their job on a consistent basis. And we're not there yet, and we're making progress. And I think that every one of those guys will see what they need to improve on, and we'll go to work on it on Monday.
You always talk about the consistency, and that's something that Nick Saban is always talking about, especially with these younger guys coming in. There's 15 early enrollees, and I can only imagine, this is Alabama's, 8th practice or whatever, and now you're scrimmaging against a very talented defense with a lot of experienced returners, a lot of vets, guys who know the system. And then on the offensive side, there's so many missing components. As Nick Saban said, really only one true starter with Evan Neal. I know Chris Owens spot played plenty last year, so I guess you could theoretically call him a starter. But other than that, with Emil and John Mechie out, it's a new offense. So when you have these younger guys stepping in, they have to understand that they're trying to be consistent and trying to compete consistently at the highest level, which is very tough to do at a program like Alabama. We continue with Nick Saban's press conference.
Go to Aaron Suttles.
What does Christian Harris mean to this year's defense, and what areas of improvement, if any, do you expect to see from him this year?
Well, he's got a lot of experience, no doubt, and I think we have a lot more experienced players on defense, which is certainly helpful. But I think as a signal caller on defense, some of the very things that I talked about for the quarterback, when you are pretty much the quarterback, at least to the front 7, and to some degree to all 11 guys in some cases, you need to have a presence as well. Call it what you will. And I think, he's starting to gain confidence in being able to do that. I think that's going to be important for us to grow. But having more experience and having more guys that, know how to do it, know what to do, play the way you want them to play, you have less guys that need to be led. So I also think that's a positive.
When Nick Saban talks about Christian Harris right there, I think that's a big indicator to the experience of this defense. I mean, Christian Harris comes in, played every single game as a freshman a couple seasons ago, played every single game last year as a sophomore, really has a great nose for the football. And I think he models his game after Dylan Moses, very high IQ, high motor player, and somebody who certainly can be that quarterback of the front seven. You look at Alabama's front seven, there's so much rotation. From what I hear, Alabama's too deep on defense, extremely loaded. I mean, look at all the rotation. You'll hear me say rotation a ton with the defensive linemen because Alabama can keep that unit fresh. You look at the linebackers, and I'm still curious to find out who Alabama wants as that additional inside linebacker along with Christian Harris, whether that's going to be Shane Lee, Jalen Moody, maybe somebody else, maybe a freshman. But on the outside, you have William Anderson, you have Chris Allen. And by the way, I heard that Chris Allen and William Anderson pretty much unblockable yesterday. So it's good to hear that the defense out of the gates is performing at a high level. And I'm not surprised because we've talked about the defense experience coming into the season, headlined by a leader like Christian Harris. We continue.
Okay, we got time for a couple more. We'll start with Tony.
Do you have an early assessment of Jaquon McKinstry? And then also just how has the secondary as a whole looked today?
I didn't really hear the question.
Kool-Aid?
Early assessment of Jaquon, Kool-Aid, and then how the secondary do it.
Yeah, Kool-Aid's, making progress. I think, he's shown that he has some ability to contribute to the team. I think that, he has to play with more consistency at his position. He needs to know what to do all the time. He's like all the other young players out there. I think these guys find out that this is not going to be as easy as they thought it was. But I think he's shown a lot of maturity. He has played with toughness, and I'm not satisfied with where he is, but I'm certainly pleased with the progress he's making. I think the secondary, the guys that have experience and have played, I think they're playing pretty well. But we need to find more guys in the secondary that can play winning football.
All right. As we end this observation video, good stuff from Nick Saban regarding Jaquon McKinstry, Alabama's early enrollee freshman out of Pinson Valley, #1 player in the state of Alabama, as well as a secondary. I mean, what more do you expect from, Nick Saban's comments on Jaquon? I think, him coming in, we heard that he had a fantastic fourth quarter, kind of showing when he initially got here, and then he's making progress with that corner spot. And I think when you look to Alabama's secondary, it's completely loaded as well. I think Jalen Armour Davis, Jaquon, probably Kyrie Jackson, those guys are going to battle for that corner spot into the season. But it's really good to hear an update on an early enrollee like Jaquon McKinstry. In terms of the secondary overall, I mean, Jordan Battle, DeMarco Helms, Daniel Wright, Josh Jobe, Malachi Moore out right now because of an injury that he suffered last season. So you have Brian Branch at that star position. So a ton of talent returning, so much experience on the secondary. And of course, Nick Saban works with the corners specifically at practice, calls himself a grad assistant out there with new defensive backs coach Jay Vlatt. My name is Kyle Henderson of BamaInsider.com. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please hit the thumbs up, like, and subscribe. We appreciate you more than you know. Thank you very much for being a part of this 50,000 club right here on BamaInsider.com. Have a beautiful weekend. We'll be back right here on BamaInsider.com.